Somebody said something to me and it really resonated. They called us opening this place up. It was like the bookend on COVID. So this is a place for fellowship and community. And during COVID, as you guys remember, we couldn't go out and interact with people, and especially in this community. I love that they said that, because it was just a good visual. As soon as we moved in here and opened our doors, that was the time that people were really starting to get out again.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Discover Virginia podcast. I'm Joseph Trahan, your host for the #1 video podcast in Virginia, where we explore the rich history, vibrant culture, and iconic businesses that make our Commonwealth truly special and worth talking about. So get ready as together we discover Virginia. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Discover Virginia podcast. It's our pleasure to be visiting the owner and founder of Waters Edge Winery, Jason Witt. Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, Joe, thanks for having me on. This is you guys got a really cool setup here. So thanks for traveling to us.
So do you. Thanks for hosting us. Anytime we like to do wine and restaurant tours, we try to come in person as much as possible to showcase the beautiful, beautiful facility that you have here today. So today we're going to be talking about and continuing on with our veteran turned business owner series, where we kind of dive into a little bit of your journey and your life that led you up to this point, and then becoming a business owner and building your life and business in Norfolk. Ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. So I understand you have a very technical trade skill in the form of flying and racing jets with Top Gun and Maverick. Is that correct?
That is exactly right. No. So I was a Navy helicopter pilot for 21 years, retired 2 years ago. And it's funny, all my buddies went to the airlines, or they're flying helicopter EMS, and that was kind of the path that I was on.
Yeah.
But the deployments, it was just a lot. We were deployed all throughout COVID on the USS Eisenhower strike group. And man, we were just underway for a long time. And kind of during those 2 years with no port visits, I'm missing my kids and missing my family. Just kind of made the decision. It was time. When I got into the Navy 21 years ago, I was 23 years old and had very different priorities, and devoted my young adulthood to the Navy and the service, and I'm very thankful for it. But now I was mid 40s. My kids were early teens, and I just knew that it was time to get out, because I barely knew where the light switches were in my house. And I love family and just wanted to be with them. So we looked for something that would give us fulfillment. We love this community. We had back-to-back sets of orders here. And it was just nice to know people as opposed to moving every 2 to 3 years. So decided to get out. Luckily, this building was available. It sat empty for about 2 years, right around the COVID timeframe.
Right.
And even on deployment, I'd call back to my wife and check up on them whenever I could. And then I'd always ask them, be like, "Hey, what's going on with that building? Is it still empty?" And the gears were just turning. And sure enough, it sat empty for 2 years. We came back. It was time for me to make the decision to get out. And we ended up putting into this building what we were waiting for somebody else to put in. Because this neighborhood and this community needed something like a gathering place. It used to be a taste sandwich shop, and everybody loved taste here. And when they moved out, the whole community mourned the loss of this great community meetup spot, including us. And then we waited for the next thing to come, and it never did. So we finally put in what we wanted somebody else to put in.
I love it, Jason. And thank you, of course, for your service, and also for sticking around and continuing to build your life and your business here. I love that that story where, a lot of, people, the Navy picks where they live. But then after the Navy, you get to decide. And it's always incredibly humbling for us as community members, for you all to stick here and build your life and your business here. So I'm curious, from your time in the military, how did that shape your approach to leadership and business overall?
So every 2 to 3 years, you'd move. You'd go to a new set of orders. So my first set of orders, I was a new fleet helicopter pilot, learning how to fly this big gray helicopter and deploying on ships. And then my second tour was very different in that I was an instructor flying a small orange and white helicopter, teaching students. And And each set of orders was so different. I then went on to be an air boss on a small amphib ship out of Sasebo, Japan. And then it's like I went to school for a little bit. So vastly different that I just learned to evolve and into new ecosystems. And I use the same skill set, whether it's being a helicopter pilot, whether it's being a student at a graduate degree, whether it's supporting Navy admirals and their staffs, to just use those skill sets to figure out who my counterparts were, bring in subject matter experts, and form good cultures. And it's the same thing here. I mean, I'm terrible in the kitchen, but we brought in folks that are very, very good at it. We hired just a real strong team and fostered that positive culture, and these have been the results. And I think the community has really welcomed the food, the location, the service that we provide. Oh, and the wine as well.
Absolutely.
The wine has been very well received. And did that answer your question?
Oh, no, absolutely. And we'll definitely be getting into the wine shortly. And we have a fun teaser for you at the end for where you can go to hang out with Jason next. But as we continue on through your journey, I'd love to hear this transition from military to civilian life, because I understand it can be a challenge for, many veterans who are looking for their identity, which was rooted in the military. And now it's like, what is next? So for you, I'd love to know, how did the idea of Waters Edge Winery come about? I know you had mentioned this abandoned commercial space essentially was just sitting here. It looked kind of cool. What made you decide that this was the spot you wanted to dive into, and why wine?
Yeah, well, I would start off by saying I found out a lot about myself after the Navy. It was maybe masked while I was in the Navy. I'm very risk tolerant, I'm finding, whether it's strapping into a helicopter and flying nighttime with night vision goggles on and doing, landing on ships as they're moving through the sea, or whether it's taking large financial risks. So did not know that about myself, but we took we don't come from we're not a naturally affluent people. We just got out of the military, so we've been working. So in no way should we be in a position to own a place of this size. The joke is we tricked the bank into giving us a huge bank loan, and we took a huge financial risk and put it all in line. And it's different in the Navy because I'm taking risks, life and limb, and now I'm taking different type of risk. There's, of course, anybody can get in a car accident and happen anytime, but the risk we're taking now are much more financial, and it's just a different type of, now I've got my family in the back of the helicopter, so to speak, flying around. So
absolutely.
It's different in that way. But we love this community. We know people. We did look at moving to various different places, but one thing we just couldn't do was give up all the personal capital. We know so many people here. Our kids know people here. We go into the grocery stores and we know people, and that's not something we were used to in the Navy, because we'd move here and we'd go to a new church and we'd go to figure out our grocery store, and we didn't know anybody, and then we reset every 2 to 3 years. So we just love this area. And why do we pick wine? It's not because I've been a wine aficionado my whole life. We looked at a lot of different concepts and ended up on the wine. And it's funny, we live right down the street, and we kind of joke that it's off-base housing because all around us are military folks and that don't live on the base. They live in our residential streets. And it just so happens that I'm friends with all of them. And it just so happens that all of the men are in the Navy, and they all deploy from time to time. And a light bulb at one point went off in my head. I'm like, all the beer drinkers are deploying, and all the wives staying. But I know I'm generalizing here, but all the wives are staying behind, and the wine drinkers. I'm like, why don't we do some type of craft winery? And because there's so many amazing craft breweries around here, we didn't want to be like number 15 of the already great craft breweries. So we went with a craft winery, and just like the craft breweries, they're not growing their own hops and their own barley they bring that raw material in from the best places all around the world, from Washington State, Colorado, and various other areas where you get that raw ingredients. And we do the same thing. So people will come in and ask where my vineyard is, and it truly is all over the world. So we source our grapes from Australia, from California, from Armenia, Chile, all over. Sadly, I don't have any Virginia wines. Virginia grapes, I am working on it. I'm getting a lot of flack for it. I'm totally working on it, but we're 18 months young and still kind of finding our way in the world. And
yeah. I love that. I mean, just the concept of now my family is flying in the back of the helicopter with me, which I'm sure
it's
can
nerve-wracking.
for a lot of, veterans out here, which is one of the inspirations for doing this series, is like, you do have a place outside of the military in our community. And we, kudos for you. I mean, let the record state, you did not like do any kind of like wine school or culinary school prior to this. Like you said, you've gotten kicked out of the kitchen a few times, right?
Well, I'm going over it relatively quickly. So I have been making wine now for a little bit over 2 years.
Sure. Prior to the idea, though, right? Conceptualizing the idea.
Yep. We saw a need and we filled the need, basically.
Yeah. That's so amazing. And then no Virginia grapes yet. And then obviously, I mean, Hampton Roads is a very densely populated area for the most part. I mean, maybe parts of Suffolk and Pungo, but there's no wineries, right? But that's okay because you are sourcing the best grapes and then doing everything in-house, right?
That's a good point. So all the craft breweries around here that are making their own beer, I think most people say that's Virginia craft beer. However, they're getting their raw materials from other areas. So I would argue it's kind of the same here. I'm torn whether I'm calling this Italian wine or California wine, or if I'm calling it Virginia, because it's being made here. It's being made in our facility. It comes in as juice.
Actually, right behind us. Yeah.
And then right behind us, I ferment it. I rack it again. I filter it. I bottle it. It's really it's a team effort. We cork it. We use local ODU students as a vast majority of our front of the house. And then local residents, we use local utilities, Norfolk water, which, by the way, is one of the best in America, Norfolk water. I had to find that out.
Really?
It
Interesting.
is. We have very, very good water.
What makes it very good water?
I'm going to get out of my element real quick.
Is it the special potion they put in the Elizabeth River or something?
We thought about making a wine and calling it a mid-grade white wine and say that it's water sourced directly from the Elizabeth River, just kind of as a joke. But yeah, we use city water, which is very, very good. I can't tell you why, but
it's classified off the record.
I can't get into the chemical properties of it, but it's
good. It's
very
quality.
Clean water. It doesn't add too much minerality. And the wine has been coming out very, very good. So just getting to, is this craft Virginia wine or is it craft Italian, California? I would say there's an argument to say that this is Virginia wine.
I love it. And I think the main thing is to encourage folks to come in and try it for themselves. And if they like it, as long as it's ethically sourced and bottled with reputable materials, then I think that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, we work with a lot of vineyards. So I work with a company that goes all over the world, and they have these juicing trucks, and they pull these juicing trucks directly up to the vineyards in Italy, in France, in Spain, and they juice the grapes right there. So these trucks crush the grapes right on scene, and they use a process called thermovinification, which just in layman's terms, they flash heat the grape juice and then rapidly cool it down. And that kills any wild yeast, because you can imagine that the grape, as soon as that grape skin is punctured, there's generally yeast on the outside of the skin, and it's also just free floating everywhere. And the fermentation begins immediately. So when you use that process of thermovinification, it kills all the wild yeast. It stabilizes the grape juice. It's double bag sealed. And then I receive these huge bags of crushed grapes, whether it be Pinot Grigio, whether it be Pinot Noir, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and all the hard work is done. I wish I had a vineyard, but it's a lot of hard work. And then I put it into our tanks and just do our processes to it.
Absolutely. And then obviously for the folks looking to come and check you out, what type of experience can guests expect when they come to the facility? Would you mind going over, for Google SEO purposes, your direct address and then the hours of operation, and then what guests can expect when they come in and if they're looking to either dine in or just partake in a beverage while they're here?
Yeah, sure. So we are at 6464 Hampton Boulevard. We're just north of Old Dominion University on Hampton Boulevard. We open every single day at noon. We're open daily for lunch and dinner. When folks come in, we have various range of seating options, whether it's on the patio, whether it's our private event space where we have a lot of milestone military events, business meetings, birthday parties. It's a truly set aside private space. It's good for up to 70 guests. We have our wine tasting bar where our wine club members or anybody can come up and taste any of our wines. I mean, that's one of the cool things we do is you never know when you're buying a bottle from a grocery store or somewhere else if you're going to like it or not. Yeah. So for our tastings, we offer 5 1-ounce samples. And, we say 5, but quite honestly, ain't nobody counting. I want you to come in here and try a bunch of our wines because we constantly have a new rotation of wines coming in. And we're finding out what our core is as well. And because I do all the wine making here, we have wine bottling experiences. So people can come in as a date night or even as a larger group and come back there with me and bottle the wine, cork the wine, private label the wine. If you shoot me a picture and some text, I can put it on a label. And it's just a really fun thing because it's an experience. Oh, and by the way, when you're doing that experience, you're doing a little bit of quality assurance, I'd like to call it.
Of course. Yeah, you got to test it before you put the cork in, right?
And it's just fun. You're not just sitting around a table drinking wine. You're doing something. And have we had some broken glasses back there, broken bottles during these wine bottling experiences? Yes, and that's okay. We clean it up and we go back to it. But it's a fun experience.
Absolutely. And I know earlier you had alluded to, when this facility sat vacant, the community kind of lost something and they were kind of looking for that next thing to, bring a community together. And that's, why podcasts like ours exist with Discover Virginia, but even more so why we go out and we connect with other people, because that's what a community does, right?
Somebody said something to me and it really resonated. They called us opening this place up. It was like the bookend on COVID. So this is a place for fellowship and community. And during COVID, as you guys remember, we couldn't go out and interact with people. And especially in this community, I love that they said that because it was just a good visual. As soon as we moved in here and opened our doors, that was the time that people were really starting to get out again. And we want to be that hangout spot. I mean, we've got about 300 wine club members now, and we have amazing benefits for our wine club members. They can get complimentary tastings every single day. Now, people don't come in every day for the most part.
They could, right?
It's available to their own schedule. So whenever they're available, they can come in and sample new wines. Take home 2 bottles every month. And by the way, we went to a restaurant the other day and they had a wine Wednesday, and the place was packed because they do 50% off their bottles.
Sure.
Like, you know what? I have more wine than anybody in Hampton Roads. We're going to do for our wine club members 50%, so half off bottles in-house Monday through Thursday for our wine club members.
Wow. That's a great deal.
I feel like it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then also here, just displayed in front of us, you have some wine to go. So if somebody's maybe looking for a smaller bottle or maybe some merch, do you mind sharing with that type of experience folks can get as well?
Yeah, so we also have the full-size bottles, but on display here, just some of our smaller bottles. So most people are probably familiar with these little guys, but this is something we're really excited about. So this is a sipper. We're calling it a sipper. So it's 2 glasses worth of wine. You've got a rip cap solution here, so you don't have to have a wine cork on you. You just put your finger in there and kind of peel it back, and you're ready to go. And if you can see, it's about the size of a Gatorade, mouth. So you can still look classy as you're drinking with the pinky raise, drinking out of the bottle.
Is it the right hand or the left hand? I can't remember which one. Right?
Well, I'm an ambidextrous drinker. I'm not sure about you. But yeah, it's just we're calling this a sipper. It's a ready to drink solution.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
Bring it
well,
to
maybe not the beach.
Not the beach.
Glassware on the beach is
glassware on the beach is prohibited. Yeah, per ocean.
But you don't have to have glasses. You just drink right out of it. And we're finding a lot of folks really like it. You don't have to get right back in line either because this has 2 glasses worth.
There you go. There you go. Lovely, lovely, Jason. So, but besides the wine and the great food, I want to kind of dive a little bit deeper because you're not just, offering wine and food. You offer unique experiences. So I know you have an event space where I think you said last night you had some folks come out from the military community. Is that correct?
Yes, we had several, about 40 officers from our NATO allied countries.
Wow, that's a lot of room. Is that the max? Or
so we can take a 65, 70, depending on how we build out the space. And it's a truly private event space. We had a wedding the other day. It was touching, honestly.
Yeah,
that somebody wants to come in here and do something so important. And it's a big, it's a big thumbs up to us, and it's a big responsibility to make sure that couple has a great time here. So they did their ceremony in the private event space. After the ceremony, they went out to the patio for the reception. We had our wine, beer out there ready for them. And as they're out there at the reception, we totally redid the private event space and built it up for their dinner. So it was a one-stop shop, and the place was all theirs. In fact, we have a buyout coming up on Saturday, in which we're doing something very similar.
Incredible. So just a really great place for the community to come and either leverage the event space for hanging out with friends or utilizing the whole space for a private event. That's amazing. Now, I know you are super busy, Jason, so we'll go ahead and give you back some time this morning. But before we go, I want to highlight this really cool event happening at the end of September, which is going to be the Waters Edge Winery Festival, partnering with the Old Town Portsmouth Winefest. Would you mind telling us more about what folks can expect and where they can go to learn more about what you have going on?
Yeah, sure. So our website is WEW Norfolk, Waters Edge Wine Norfolk. And on there, you can find out a full range of all the events that we have. You can look at our menus online. And one thing I will note is people still will come in and ask if we serve food. And we do. So we serve lunch and dinner every single day. We teamed up with the Virginia Culinary Institute, and they helped me and our team just figure out, I was truly shooting from the hip coming into this. I didn't know how many plates I needed, what type of kitchen equipment I should have. I was talking to people, and they're like, well, maybe you should have a cheese board or some salads. But the Virginia Culinary Institute and several of their staff members came over here and truly gave us an academic background and showed us how many plates we needed, where we should put the kitchen equipment, what type of kitchen equipment for the menu that we were going to design. So they have just been fantastic. We still are in cooperation with their staff, and a lot of their students come over here to get externships. So they get credit towards their degree as they work here. And there's so much creativity in the back. But you asked about the Winefest. We're going to Winefest now all the time. It's definitely Winefest season.
Like you said, you have the most wine in all of Hampton Roads. Might as well showcase it, right?
Yeah. I heard this funny story. We were invited to go over to Italy because when we first opened up, we had to buy a lot of finished wine, and we bought a lot of it from this vineyard in Italy. And we caught their attention because we ordered like 3 pallets of finished wine, which is a lot of wine. So the winemaker invited us over to Tuscany. Wow. We had to turn it down. Because we're opening up a new business. But as I heard stories, this winemaker over there, every once in a while, he'll fill up a bathtub with wine. And if it's somebody's birthday, they'll get into the bathtub full of wine. And I'm like, how can you do that? But I understand a little bit more because we have so much wine here that it's you definitely don't want to be wasteful with it because it's a very valuable and precious thing. But yes, we do have a lot of wine. So the Winefest, we're really excited to go to the Old Town Winefest. This is the first time that they're doing it, and we're so happy that they reached out to us to come out and support. We'll be giving out free samples, selling glasses. I believe we can sell bottles to go. I've got to talk with the folks in charge. But we're also going to the Neptune Winefest. Oh my gosh, tomorrow.
Yeah,
I got to get ready for that.
Tomorrow of this recording day. So
Yes.
unfortunately, when you see this, it'll pass. But
Yes.
hopefully, you stay up to date through our community Facebook groups, so you can check it out there.
You know who has great pouring events too is the Norfolk Zoo. So we go there and pour a lot for their members, and they've just been so great and gracious to have us as part of their entertainment schedule.
Really, that's incredible, and what an honestly true testament to not only your desire to create that community, but to be able to take advantage of a resource like wine to bring people together and to allow multiple people to experience it in multiple variations. So Jason, thank you so much for your time. I just have one last question for you, and I'm curious, as we look onto the horizon for the future plans of Waters Edge Winery, what can folks be on the lookout for? And are there any exciting projects or plans you have that folks can look forward to in the coming months as we head into the next year?
Well, we're really starting to work on, we serve a lot of wine in-house, but because we're able to make, we can make it more that we can serve in-house. So we're starting to sell our wines in other restaurants. We're starting to sell our wines more on a wholesale basis. We're still very much a small craft winery. Think of us like a gourmet type of wine that uses very high quality ingredients and very low sulfites.
Absolutely. There's a craft.
Yeah. Sulfites meaning the preservatives. So ours are very, very low on preservatives. But we are starting to serve it at other restaurants. It's being sold at the Naval Exchange. I think we're going to get into the Coast Guard Exchange soon, the Army, Air Force.
That's right, because you were also making kegs back there when we
do
before
yep,
we hit the record button.
We keg our wine, and that's somewhat of a new concept. But inside the keg, it's always at the perfect temperature. It's always it's pushed with either CO2 or nitrogen, and it's a closed system, so you don't have to worry about the wine going bad.
Wonderful. Well, Jason, thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you to our dedicated listeners for checking us out on another episode of Discover Virginia Podcast. If you're listening just on the audio version, definitely go tune on over to Facebook or one of our YouTube channel pages where you can check out a little bit more of behind the scenes of everything Jason has going on. But it's better if you just come in person. So come check out the Waters Edge Winery very, very soon. We'll talk to you all in another episode. Bye for now.